Good morning, students. Myself, Nikhil Kumariyam, PGT Biology, JNV, Dakshina Kannada, with you to discuss the chapter Life Processes of Class 10th Biology. So, if you look around, you can see plenty of things. Some will be living and some will be non-living. We call it as biotic and abiotic components. How to differentiate a thing is biotic or abiotic? See here, the first what I shown you, the ostrich, is it biotic or abiotic? How do you know? Clouds, biotic or abiotic? Water, biotic or abiotic? The plants. So if you see all these things, all these images, some images we know there is biotic components are there, like the first image of the plant over here. Here there is a lady is here, and here there is an ostrich is here. These are biotic. How can you say these are biotic or living organisms? So basing on various parameters of life processes, you say, sir, it is moving, it is breathing, it is walking, it is doing photosynthesis, etc. So let us discuss those things in this chapter. That activities that gives an organism as a living status, that is called as life processes. Because every organism requires energy to maintain them. Whether you are walking, running or sleeping, you need energy. So how to get energy? How to get the nutrients? How to extract energy from that? How to transport it? How to remove the waste? These all matters. That is what we are going to discuss in this chapter. The life processes. All the activities or the processes that are required for maintaining life of an organism is called as life processes. So which life process would you notice in the image here? Down bottom, lady with 2 ears. Yeah, nutrition. So nutrition is one of the life process. Without that, living is very difficult. So there's a basic 4 life processes are nutrition, respiration, circulation and excretion. These 4 things or these 4 processes we are going to discuss in this chapter in detail. So here's here the rabbit doing the process of nutrition, in taking the food, digesting it, absorbing it, assimilating it, then eliminating or ejection, removal of the waste. You can see the panda that also does nutrition. The horse does breathing, is a part of respiration. The respiratory or photosynthesizing organ of the plant that required for them stomata to exchange gases. Circulation, you are seeing in this bee's image. Okay, so these are all the various type of life processes. In this one, let us see the difference what we can see in the organisms, among organisms. So you observe the unicellular organisms like that of an amoeba as is shown over here. Very small, you cannot see even with our naked eye. They does nutrition, they does respiration, they does circulation and they does excretion. Who will do this is for them? Who will do this is for this bacteria? the single cell or the one and only cell is present in them, that cell will do all the activities for them. But what about higher animals? An ape, they have a body systems are there. That is what the case of human being also, all higher animals also, we have well developed systems, like we call digestive system, respiratory system, muscular system, skeletal system, so on. Lot of body systems are there, while that of this unicellular organism, they will do all the activity with a single cell. Now let us see the first part of life processes. We are going to discuss nutrition. So what is nutrition? This is a image of a part of nutrition. So the process of acquiring food, that is called of nutrition, or the process of acquiring nutrients, that is called as nutrition. What is the role of that? It gives nourishment to the organism. So different organism will acquire their food in different manner. Okay. So that basically we are divided the nutrition into two types. One is autotrophic nutrition, the another one is heterotrophic nutrition. These all we had studied in the lower classes, of course. Let us see once again. So the plants that is shown over here, what it is doing? It is receiving the sunlight. So by using sunlight, they can produce their food glucose. Then we categorize them as autotrophs. But the three animals that we are shown over here, they comes under heterotrophs because they cannot produce food like that. So that is what we are going to study or discuss in detail in this chapter. So heterotrophic nutrition subdivided into three basic things: holozoic, saprophytic and parasitic. Let us see what makes them different. Now what we are seeing over here, a human being, what we eat, whatever we eat, the mode of nutrition is holozoic mode. But you see the case of a mushroom, the fungi, they does saprophytic. And this cuscuta, they does parasitic mode of nutrition. So we know the different types of nutrition and its importance we are going to study in detail. Then what about autotrophic nutrition? Auto, the term itself it is there, auto, self. We heard about auto rickshaw, cycle rickshaw, from cycle rickshaw to auto rickshaw. You need not to pedal it. There is a machine in that, so they will run itself. Auto, so that is autotrophic, means they get nutrition by themselves. They can nourish itself. So here for that purpose, they may use sunlight, they may use chemicals as a source. Here what you are seeing over here is a thermal vent. Okay, the underwater thermal vent. In that we can see that, yeah, this thermal vent, this gases or sulfurs etc. coming out from that, using as a what? Resource to get the energy. Again you can see this chemotropic organisms over here. But here the plant, the green plant is a photosynthetic organism. So let us see the difference between them. When green color is here, greenery is here, we know they does photosynthesis. So they called us autotrophs. So these plants over here, And this plant over here, these two are photoautotrophs. While the lactic acid bacteria, you know where we can find them? Yeah, the formation of curd, and as well as the bacteria present here in the nitrogen fixing bacteria. We studied last year, Thiobacillus, Rhodospirillum, etc. These bacteria not using energy from sunlight. They are using energy from chemical reactions. So they called us chemoautotrophs. Chemoautotrophs, the sulfur bacteria of thermal vent. They also chemoautotrophs. Here the nitrogen fixing bacteria is chemoautotrophs. The lactic acid bacteria is chemoautotrophs. Got it? Now let us discuss photosynthesis little detail. So as the image suggested or seeing, if you see the image, what do you understand? A plant is receiving sunlight. Okay, so this sunlight is receiving. So because it is a very important process, it not only provide or produce food for the plants, but also giving nourishment to remaining all the organisms. Because all the animals directly or indirectly depends on this plants for nutrition. So as you are seeing over here, the plant uses water, the plant uses carbon dioxide, and they had utilized this in chloroplast. By using the energy of sun, they produce glucose. Okay, so that is what food they prepare using the sunlight and water, carbon dioxide. So it is required to other organisms. As you are seeing in this image, this plant by using the nutrition from the nutrients from the soil like water and as well as other minerals, or carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, light from the sun, they produce a food, and that is giving as a food, getting as a food for the other organisms. As you are seeing here, this got as a heterotrophs. So that is about photosynthesis. Okay, now we are going to see the steps of photosynthesis, how the basic steps of photosynthesis. First of all is a chlorophyll present in the green part. You know chlorophyll. Chloroplast, chlorophyll. There is a difference is there. Here it's shown a cross section of a leaf in that the palisade parenchyma or spotchy parenchyma we had discussed last year. We can see the green dot like structures. These are the chloroplast. So this chloroplast containing the pigment chlorophyll. This chlorophyll is responsible for absorbing the light energy. So they use light energy, they will intake carbon dioxide, again water, and produce glucose and oxygen. So now what is the role of light energy? Basically speaking, they split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. Splitting up water into hydrogen and oxygen. This hydrogen is using there in plants, oxygen is liberated. This is what we can see here in this aquatic plant. After photosynthesis, the oxygen is bubbling out. Okay. Now, what is the role of hydrogen? So hydrogen is using to reduce carbon dioxide into carbohydrate. It is not a simple or a single step. It's a very complicated process. We'll discuss in detail in the next year as Calvin's cycle. This hydrogen directly used to produce, you can see here, NADPH and as well as ATP. These two are the energy currency in the plant. So by using this NADPH and ATP, then only they can reduce the carbon dioxide into carbohydrate. The main carbohydrate produced in plants are glucose. So the formula is there in textbook also. You can write it in neatly into your notebook. Another important thing I told you that the chlorophyll, which is essential, and as well as the stomata is to facilitate the carbon dioxide intake. Carbon dioxide also required to use that intake the carbon dioxide. Stomata is also required. So you can see in the cross section of leaves, at the bottom of the leaves there are stomata opening, else for intake of gases. So let us see a small video about the photosynthesis. Please.
In order for plants to grow, they need inputs of carbon dioxide, water, and energy. The chemical process by which plants use these resources to manufacture glucose, the building blocks of plants, is called photosynthesis. In the process, oxygen gas is produced as a byproduct. The energy for photosynthesis originates in the sun and arrives at the earth as sunlight. This light has both a wave and a particle nature. The particles, or photons, are the smallest units of light. Photons oscillate along a path, which is measured as wavelengths. The light emitted from the sun contains photons in a wide spectrum of wavelengths, called the electromagnetic spectrum. Photosynthetic organisms use only a small portion of the electromagnetic spectrum, called visible light. Photosynthetic organisms contain pigments that facilitate the capture of wavelengths of light in the visible light range. The color of the pigment comes from the wavelengths of light reflected. Plants appear green because they reflect yellow and green wavelengths of light. Red and blue wavelengths of light are absorbed by these pigments and provide the energy that is used for photosynthesis. Within eukaryotic photosynthetic organisms, also known as photoautotrophs, the chemical reactions of photosynthesis occur within plant cells in specialized structures known as chloroplasts. Photosynthesis consists of two sets of reactions, the light-dependent reactions and the Calvin cycle. Within the chloroplast are small disc-like structures called thylakoids, which are surrounded by a fluid-filled space called the stroma. The reactions that synthesize glucose, the Calvin cycle, occur in the stroma. The light-dependent reactions occur in the thylakoid. It is here that conversion of light energy to chemical energy
takes place. So now we know what are the basic steps of photosynthesis. Let us see more detail about the organs helping for photosynthesis, that is stomata. Stomata we had studied in last year. So these are the minute pores on the leaves, especially in the bottom of the leaves, more in number we can see. And the stomata is guarded by guard cells. The two modified epidermal cells, specialized cells you can see, which having thickening in the inner surfaces and thin cell wall in the outer surface, they are called as guard cells. Okay, so these guard cells are responsible for opening and closing. Here you can see the open stomata, here you can see the closed stomata. Right? Now, how do this stomata will help for exchange of gases? How do they open and close? Opening and closing, as you are seeing over here in this image, they are intaking carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and release the oxygen as byproduct, and they release water vapor also. So how do they open and close? That is the entry and exit of water. You can see in this first image, as the water is enter into the vacuoles of the guard cells, the guard cell become turgid. So flat one, it become turgid and open. Okay, guard cell become turgid and open. When the water loses, that guard cell become flaccid and closes. So this is how the opening and closing of stomata. So that opening and closing of stomata is also control the entry and exit of gases. The entry of carbon dioxide and exit of, yes, oxygen. So let us see now we are seeing the photosynthesis. Now let us see about the saprophytic mode of nutrition, the part of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Saprophyte, as you are seeing this fungi, we can see growing in the areas where the plant parts are decaying or decomposing. Okay, so the organism who feeds on dead and decaying organic matter, this is called as saprophytic nutrition. An animal dies, then also it decomposes. So that decomposition also a type of organisms required, decomposers required, bacteria are there, fungi are there. So this is a similar type of or same type of nutrition. So different type of fungi we can see in different area wherever decomposition is taking place, wherever decaying taking place. So they are getting nutrients from them. How do they get nutrients? They will use their enzyme to partially digest the organic matter. That organic matter is decayed or decomposed by the enzymatic activity of this fungi or bacteria. Then they will intake that nutrients. So example is different type of fungi or mushroom. So here you can see the puffball type of mushroom, and water falls on them, they will produce their spores, right? So let us see about the parasitic mode of nutrition. Some organisms lives or feeds on other organisms by living inside them or outside them and causing harm or damage. Also, such a mode of nutrition is called as parasitic mode of nutrition. You can see here the Pasinia grows on the wheat and as well as rice. Why Pasinia? Causing the diseases, fungal diseases, rust diseases, and other fungi grows on here corn, maize. You can see here. This is all different type of parasites, and our microbes, even bacteria can also or microbe which cause pathogenic microbe which cause disease also we can call as parasite because they are growing on the body of the organism to get nutrients. Such organisms are called as parasites. And here I have shown you a green plant. This is also a parasite. Yes, this is nothing but sandalwood tree, Santalum album. It is a partial root parasite. It needs some of the nearby forest trees to extract some part of their nutrition. This is why we cannot grow the sandalwood tree in our surrounding because it is very costly. We cannot grow it, mostly available in the forest area. This is the reason it needs some surrounding trees to get the nutrition. So here another examples you can see here. This is Cuscuta, a plant parasite. What you are seeing here is the special structure of Cuscuta. Here you can see this one. This is the host area. Okay, one minute. Yes. So this is what the host area of Cuscuta. By using this special structure, what they will do, they will penetrate into the host plant tissue and reaches into their vascular tissue like xylem and phloem, then extract the nutrients from them. This is by using that nutrients they could able to survive. So this type of parasites you can see in around you also, you can also observe. Loranthus. On the trees you can see Loranthus. Now the Loranthus is growing on the tree branches. You can see the host tree, a head of the parasite attached. That branch shows malnutrition, retarded growth, because the nutrients are completely absorbed by this parasitic plant. Okay, so another example of animal parasite. The leech is an animal parasite. It's an ectoparasite. What is ecto? Outside. Ascaris, the worm, is an endoparasite inside our body. So remember, endoparasite and as well as ectoparasite. Outside the living, head lice, heno in Kannada. Head lice, that is an ectoparasite, isn't it? So other worms are there. Pinworm is here. Tapeworm is here. These are endoparasites. We can write more examples for this type of parasitic mode of nutrition. Very important thing we should remember that how to differentiate a parasitic mode of nutrition with that of saprophytic mode of nutrition. Think about that. From where a parasite is getting food? From a living organism. A saprophyte, dead organism. Parasite causing harm to the host. And here, as it is dead in the saprophytic case, the host, there is no cause of harm. So remember the differences and examples also. Okay. So now let us see the next type of nutrition, that is called as holozoic mode of nutrition. This is what our nutrition, the way we does. Intake the material as a whole or part and digest inside our body, absorb it, assimilate it. This is called as holozoic nutrition. Whether it is a fish or a microbe like amoeba or paramecium, they does which method? Holozoic mode of nutrition. We can also add more example to that. Whether it is a bird or a fish or a human being or a paramecium, we all does which method? Holozoic nutrition. Whether it is carnivore or herbivore, we does holozoic mode of nutrition. Clear? In this, first we are going to discuss about nutrition in amoeba. Amoeba is a very familiar microorganism for us because even though we are not seeing them more frequently, but we study it from lower class onwards. Microorganism amoeba. Microorganism amoeba. First we will say about amoeba. So we discuss about nutrition in amoeba. How does amoeba get their nutrients? It is a herbivorous organism. It cannot eat plant. So it's a carnivorous organism. Okay. So it having holozoic mode of nutrition. They use pseudopodia and engulf the food materials. So that process is called as phagocytosis. So we can see in this image over here that the food is present. Amoeba is sensing the food, right? Is using its pseudopodia over that, covering the food material, and with that they will make a food vacuole. You can see here they made a food vacuole. Now the food vacuole goes into their body and continue the next process. So here you can see another amoeba catching a paramecium. So there are basic steps is common in amoeba and as well as human being. Once it is intaken, the food is intaken, the amoeba will do digestion, absorption, assimilation and ejection. Actually ejection is not a okay, it is a removal of waste. So here you can see the amoeba. Okay, so they have this phagocytosis process. The undigested food they will. So the steps again you can see the absorption. When the food is enter inside their body, what they will do? The digestive enzymes will be secreted into these vacuoles. Then it is properly digested. Then it is absorbed. The nutrients will be taken into the body, assimilated, used. What is assimilation? So what we had today breakfast? Some had dosa, some had idli, some had rice items, whatever it is. If it is digested completely, we may get glucose. When carbohydrate digest, we will get glucose. When protein digest, we will get amino acids. How do we assimilate that? That glucose may be directly using for extracting energy, or it convert into glycogen and store in our body. The amino acid using to produce human proteins and enzymes, etc. So this is called as assimilation, utilization, and the final step is ejection, removal for the waste. Okay, so this is what the nutrition in amoeba. Let us see a small video that shows the nutrition in amoeba. How do amoeba catch their prey? There is no audio with that. What you can see here is a paramecium has been sensed. Okay, one is escaped. See, but the big one could not escape because by that time the amoeba, you can see the cytoplasm is streaming inside the amoeba. That movement of cytoplasm that cover very fastly into the around the paramecium and trap the organism. Now it cannot go outside. Now you can see slowly this organism is releasing the enzymes into this food vacuoles. Okay, the enzyme is released. Now the paramecium's fate is inevitable. The nutrients will be absorbed by the plants. That is not shown. Okay, so this is about the process of nutrition. So we are discussed today in the first session the photosynthesis and as well as nutrition in amoeba, type of heterotrophic nutrition. So diagram of stomata, cross section of leaves, and as well as nutrition in amoeba is very important. We'll see in with another topic in the next session.